Hey. What is up? What is up, YouTube family? It is IK right here. And yeah, man, let's talk about it. Um, we got another video for the Libertarian Metaverse for y'all listening in. And yeah, let's talk about it. This has been on my mind for quite a while. And I will say that this is a pretty interesting topic that I have always been curious about. But let's talk about mm, I wanted to maybe talk about maybe Puerto Rico, but I'll probably save that for the future. I don't know. I might do Puerto Rico, or maybe I will probably talk about race and IQ. Actually, no. Let's just let's just talk about Puerto Rico. I'm gonna give like my thoughts on that. I don't know if I have made like a video on it, but I'll just make like a part two to it or anything to that manner. Now, let's talk about, I guess, the economic situation that's been happening over there. Um, Puerto Rico is in a really, really bad spot. And I will say this is all due to government, and primarily it's due to the economic, oppression that is being caused by the United States government. And before I get into that, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Do what you got to do. And yeah, like I appreciate anybody coming through to the channel to listen in. And yeah, let's get back on to this cook session. So I truly believe, as far as what's going on in Puerto Rico, um, the U.S. government is obviously tarnishing the Puerto Rican economy. And this is nothing new. I think this is all part of a colonial, setup where first world countries that are authoritarian are utilizing their power by, governmental means to put economic restrictions on smaller parts of the world, that being Puerto Rico. And I think this is very common from a country like the United States government, that being supremely oppressive in their own, means to basically hurt the people of Puerto Rico and many other islands that first world, tyrannical countries go after. And they try to act like that they're gonna just continue bullying you. And then I think eventually, there should be like a breaking point for that, because it's like, the main issue behind like the whole idea of Western, envisionment of a mercantilist type style. I can definitely see that a first world, nation that uses its military industrial complex and political, political restrictions to hold people, back. A government would do that in order to gain more power, to take away the rights from the people that live there and make it harder for people to sustain, therefore creating political divide and conquer methods. And from Puerto Rico's point of view, it seems like a lot of their economy, for the most part, is being destroyed by the United States government, simply due to a lot of political, economic, trading restrictions that the Puerto Rican economy cannot conduct them. That being the Jones Act, that's a really, really destructive act. I probably even say that's probably just as worse if you compare the British trying to restrict, India to do the same thing to the Indian economy, where the Indians are not able to trade outside of India, and they're basically being forced to conduct, mercantilism with a invading government that is trying to utilize its evil onto the people and basically screwing people over to use pseudo, anti-free market capitalist ideals to use a lot of socialist aggressive behavior, which it's a command economy, criminal, cartel type of setup. That's exactly what it is. It's not It's not a fair, like economy where people have property rights and they actually, bring true capitalist means to go, away from statism and to have their own independence to do what they want to do. And that's literally what Puerto Rico is in right now, where where I would say for the most part the like economy is completely destroyed in terms of the U.S. government coming in and placing a lot of economic sanctions, on the island, where the island cannot trade with any other country that neighbors it. Basically, like the U.S. government can make that decision to say you can only trade with us, and maybe like certain businesses can come into the island that's being allowed by the U.S. federal government. But still, Puerto Rico, they still have their own government where they can make yeah, they can make the decision to determine, what type of, enterprise can be allowed or not. But, like it's just so weird because it's like, when people try to make this weird, like, friendly, connotation to make it seem like Puerto Rico and the U.S. get along, I disagree. I think Puerto Rico is completely disconnected from American lifestyle. And I don't think really that many Puerto Ricans give two craps about, what Americans do. Only reason why I say this is because a lot of these people that you talk to from Puerto Rico, they don't really give two F's about what Americans say, about them, or, what people want to know about Puerto Rico. Like, people don't care about that. I think more Puerto Ricans care about how are they going to get electricity back in their home, and how are they going to feed their families when there's no money being generated within their household to afford, the massive expenses that they have to deal with on the island. And I really do put the blame on the government because when you really think about it, if a government was not in the way where there's a lot of monopoly control taking over certain industries to make it harder for people to get property and actually, abstain bad actors from their property or exclude those people that they don't want, within their property, then that's how first world, like economies generate. You have to create profit to generate innovation to create bigger and better things for a society. And I don't like to use Western countries as a good example of that because industrialization is not caused by the means of utilizing poor, capital, how should I say, like poor anti-capitalist means of trying to develop a society with half violence and half, positive means of, influence. And I would say, to really make this argument a lot stronger, free markets being left alone from a, invading arbitrator like government will always outperform government because, the state is not a producer, and the state has to steal from other people in order to make their ideas work. So that's basically what I'm seeing with Puerto Rico. A lot of their economy is heavily centralized, where a lot of government industry is basically centralizing markets that would most likely lead into chaotic failures, and a lot of people are probably not doing good economically, where people can't afford to live in their houses, or I would say maybe apartments of where they're at. And people like to use this weird connotation to say that Puerto Ricans are being displaced, colonialism is in effect, and Americans are just going to colonize Puerto Rico more, and therefore Puerto Ricans don't have a identity no more. And that, I don't know if I can say yes to this, because the truth is that this is clearly government getting in the way, making it harder for people to associate with one another, and therefore people don't have the means to actually live effectively to get to the lifestyle that they want to get to. Now, I could very well say I could be wrong on this, but from my perspective, I truly believe that a lot of Puerto Ricans are allowing the Puerto Rican government to ravage on people's rights, and therefore people are being aggressed upon by the by the state, making it harder for those people to live, and they're not waking up against the real elephant in the room. It seems like that a lot of these dumb, like, like, I'm not trying to swear, but, like, you know what, F it. A lot of these dumbass, people that try to represent being Puerto Rican, I would say a lot of them are a bunch of uneducated piece of crap leftists. That's exactly what they are. They're not principled, at least conservative or libertarian type individuals that see where the problem is, and it's government. Government is clearly destroying the Puerto Rican economy, that coming from the Puerto Rican government and the United States government. Mostly from the United States government, because the US government is more like playing a puppetry, control type of role, where the Puerto Rican government is probably, most likely taking orders, from the U.S., or taking ideas of what the U.S. government is applying to the Puerto Rican government, and therefore, the Puerto Rican population, they're getting pissed off to the point where you are strangling, the people's means to, effectively actually like live, peacefully on their own, and actually expand their like economy, which is being heavily restricted by a lot of, status, control, coming from the U.S. government alone. Now, my whole issue that I've had with Puerto Rico is the people of Puerto Rico that are from the island that don't get along with Americans, and there's a huge disconnect. Like, I would say, for me at least, like, for what I see out of what the island's going through, I think more Puerto Ricans from America are very disconnected and narcissistic against Puerto Ricans that don't give two craps about Americans, and they hate Americans. Yes, I said that. I'll say it again. I think a lot of Puerto Ricans do not like and hate Americans. And here's how this is going to turn into a very violent conflict. Puerto Rico has gone through a lot of political and economic suppression ever since the invasion of Spain. And, F the Spanish, because, like, I have a lot of pride of my Puerto Rican roots, standing up for the, Taino culture and the heritage of those people that still live on today. But the truth of the matter is that Puerto Rico, or aka Borican, has been around for thousands of years, at least 5,000 plus. And ever since the Spanish, quote unquote, came over, try to explore, these invaders, yeah, that's what I'm going to call them, invaders, they've done nothing but destroy the island little bit after little bit. And look at how much progression Puerto Rico has gone from, or Borican. I'll just say Borican. Borican has not expanded into a better lifestyle or a better economy under the Spanish rule, in which the Spanish were not doing anything good. They were more like expanding their stupid economy with their command economy like ideals from the monarchy onto the people, that being the Tainos, and then obviously enslaving black people and maybe other white people, that being, like the Irish or whoever. But when you think about it, they were losing that battle. They were understanding, like, wait a minute, why the hell are we doing this? Maybe we should start, getting away from this and actually, resist this type of tyranny, and actually move to like a more free liberal type of society, or individualist based, society, to destroy government and to eliminate authoritarianism and push for more individualism, or, free market based ideals, because, like, that's exactly how first world like economies get to that point. You have to eliminate the status nature of it. But that obviously was never to be the case from the Spanish because they were idiots, and all they did was just push for a lot of stupid ideas to try to collectivize society, to try to treat them like a bunch of slaves, where you have like the haves and the have-nots. And look exactly, what happened. They ended up killing themselves because, people ended up, revolting up against them. And then, look at what happened after that. You had like the United States come in, do the same thing, but just twist it to push for more collectivist, dogma. And, look at, what happened, with Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has not gotten better because the economy has always been stagnated by invading government entities, that being the US and Spain. So these are two authoritarian countries that were never doing good in the first place, starting from, I would say at least 14, you know, I don't even know, like at least like 1492 or maybe 1505 ish, but at least 300 plus years. Oh man, like I'm sorry, at least 300 plus years or almost 400 years, without the Spanish, and then ever since then, when without the U.S., at least 500 plus years. So nothing has gotten better whatsoever, and it has been nothing but pure economic suppression and political violence. That's exactly what it is. It's like I truly believe, in my view, that there's going to be a lot of deadly conflict, and I think I think it's going to turn into a violent political insurgency type of revolution, where a lot of people are going to get caught up into the socialist nonsense. And I think all this craziness is going to cause it, turn into a populist type of revolt, where people are not going to be dealing with that bullshit anymore, and you are going to see people coming out with the massive cartels. And I think they're going to start murdering people. I think everybody's going to die, and I think that's exactly how everything's going to play out, because similar to what the Cuban Revolution was, leading into now with Cuba today, a lot of people tend to forget that how these islands out in the Caribbean really started. They were already doing successful with the Taínos, being way more, how should I say, like way more successful in their progression compared to the Kalina, or, or the Kalinago, American Indian tribe. But the Taino had massive trading routes with multiple different parts of the Caribbean, and then obviously their ancestors coming from South America, starting with Venezuela, and then most likely Brazil, and then Colombia, and then I would say other countries of that manner that that I probably possibly miss. But yeah, the truth of the manner is that the Taino culture was very strong with expanding their farming, economic expansion, with trying to innovate new ideas with, medicines or anything to that level. But they weren't just going around just being stupid like what North American Indian tribes were doing, just trying to raid people and just trying to kill people for warlord gains, because that's exactly what those tribes were doing. And you know you never hear any stupid leftists trying to hold those people like accountable. They're fine with those people going out of their way, violating their property rights of what they didn't believe in, and they were collectively being savages. Like that's what those people were, and there's no dispute over that. Like there's plenty of blood shed being proven of what these tribes did. Now, as far as my particular issue, well, I guess as far as the topic that I had with the Taino, they were doing fine. They were expanding and they were, progressing very, very fast. Now, ever since, like the Spanish invasion and, I guess like the division of races and then people being mentally retarded to allow to, I guess, be bought into authoritarian thinking, that being Marxism. Sorry that I went a little bit all over the place to fast forward in time. It seems like that now the Caribbean is kind of turning into like a massive pendulum switch. And I only say this because you don't really see this often, but I think the revolutionary, morale has slowly decreased, but it's still there. And there's just a lot of corruption that a lot of people are being influenced with, that being the socialist nature of wanting to get revenge. But you're going to do it in a really violent manner. And I think Cuba has definitely proven themselves to be very, very authoritarian. And I think that mindset can easily, shade over to Puerto Rico. And most likely, I would probably say Jamaica, which Jamaica's pretty bad. And then Haiti, they're very bad. They're like really just borderline communists. If not, they're probably just communists right now, because I don't think anybody has really ever cared about Haiti, and I think Haiti's gonna become a target one day to get invaded. But yeah, Puerto Rico would definitely be the last bastion of hope for people to move there. In theory, where they want to get away from their country that's holding them back and, destroying their livestock. And those wave of, how should I say, migrants or, fresh, immigrants, they want to get away from their country to go over to a better part, of the country, to a different island. Now, I will say, as far as what Puerto Rico brings, I think Puerto Rico brings a lot of economic expansion and a lot of money that could have been made through multiple different industries, that being, the rum industry with them, selling, Bacardi 151 and all those, various drinks. That's very strong and that's very rich in profit. There's plenty of other industries such as, fishing. You could do a lot of mining, especially with like the mountains, like the mountainside is very, very beautiful. But the car industry, I mean, coffee industry, I mean, Puerto Rico is very, very rich and very, very powerful. But I guess what I fear is that all the economic expansion that Puerto Rico can be would easily be destroyed by a lot of government political, insurrection. And, that has always been like a massive problem with Puerto Rico, where, like if there's gonna be, oh man, like I'm sorry, if there's gonna be any government expansion coming into the picture where markets arise and actually get stronger and more effective, the state ends up coming in, taking things, that a market does and trying to war for more power. Because, government's not a producer, like I said, you know, like a couple minutes back. And, that's a clear opportunity to try to screw people over and get people killed. Now, as far as what I can say with Puerto Rico, how their economic situation can easily lead to a lot of violent bloodshed. Um, I use Cuba as a good example because I think Cuba is really paving a bad influence for other islands to naturally turn authoritarian. And I think what Puerto Rico would easily do is that you would see a lot of people get killed, and a lot of people will just do the same thing like Che Guevara did or Fidel Castro did, and you're gonna see massive tyrants come up. I truly believe this is exactly what's probably gonna happen, because people are not going to be patient and they're going to look at the time preference of what is valuable to them, and they're going to go out of their way to enforce their means of vigilant arbitration on innocent, people. And, they're going to go after government agents and kill them off. But it's just going to be a brand new governing body that's probably going to end up becoming very left wing communist. And it's going to try to force another, vigilant secession type of mindset where Puerto Rico secedes, but it's going to be full blown communist. And I personally don't want to see that because that's not going to be that's never going to be the identity for that at all. And I don't want Puerto Rico to emulate what Cuba is going through, because trying to regain independence, but yet you're going to go backwards and not move, the country of what it already was forward. That's not a good look for the bloodline, and that's not a good look for the people overall. But I will say Puerto Rico has that capability of turning into a Mad Max type of world where a lot of people will easily go out of their way trying to kill other people for power. And, obviously, that the U.S. government will try to find a way to try to insurrect it, to try to save the day and try to be heroes. But I truly believe that's going to turn into a massive failure, because it's going to be like, okay, you're going to try to send U.S. troops in to try to destabilize, this violent group of people, you know, overthrowing their government, and then they're already in a state of war, and you're going to try to add more war to it to try to get rid of it. No, that's playing fire with fire, and I don't think Puerto Ricans are really that, dumb of people. They will come out of their way and utilize whatever violence that they want. And I think those cartels, they are going to win. It's going to be vigilant militias that are going to find ways to get guns. And I'm pretty sure those rich people that do run, a lot of gun running, they'll probably do something like that. They'll probably say, hey, if you want to create like your own little, mercenary gang to go after these people, then yeah, like come do business, with me, and therefore all these cities can be burned and pillaged, and that'll make everything better. And I think that's exactly what Puerto Rico will do. Like, I think Puerto Rico has that capability of doing that, but I don't. Uh, oh man, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't really see that lasting for too long, because eventually there has to be a breaking point, and I don't see people scaling to that level. I think a lot of people will start to see that being a really, really bad, effect. And I think the people of Puerto Rico will very well cease that to exist, because that is going to cost a lot of lives, and people are not going to be patient with that type of behavior of having to deal with vigilant actors. But yeah, as far as that goes, I think Puerto Rico will not go to that direction. I do understand that, there's been, the talks politically of trying to make Puerto Rico a state, but I don't really see that, really happening. And I think Puerto Rico being a part of the U.S. would be absolutely terrible. You're going to be inviting a lot of democratic BS, to the state, and you're going to make everybody more divided. You're going to really try to make a island that never needed America one bit. The island itself was already going to do fine. If there was going to be a massive expansion with military support to fight Spain and kill them off, in which, like, it definitely helped to destroy the Spanish, and the Spanish were no more as a people to ever go back to war. And the truth is that the United States government has done its job to, permissively use its violence against Western European powers. And these countries don't ever think about messing with America. So America controls those nations as much as those nations in Europe do mutual aid well, I wouldn't say mutual aid, but they do mutual conversations politically with America to discuss their political plans of what they're trying to do. Because America's like a world, police to them. So, I will say, as far as Puerto Rico goes, the island, would definitely scale way better to secede from the United States Union, and I truly believe that will happen. Um, Now, as far as pushing for economic expansion, I say more capitalism is the way to go, and I think the people definitely need to take more, take more consideration of how the government is treating you, and oh man, I'm sorry, and then utilize, all the means of, disobedience to come in mass numbers and not associate with the state and get the state out of your life. But I think the biggest issue is just that the Puerto Rican government is trying to use whatever means to try to hold back the people, and the U.S. government is playing that puppetry type of system to make Puerto Rico into a bad island until people start, vigilantly going up against, the estate, and therefore nobody's not going to be able to take them down. So I think eventually change will come, but change needs to come right now, and people need to stop, acting like it's okay to just sell your freedom away to a different part of the world, knowing that you don't know who these people are. You will never meet these people, but these people were never to be your friends, one bit. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope Puerto Rico regains its, its liberty and obviously, independence once again. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys for coming on to listen, and hopefully we can definitely make definitely make another video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later. Peace.